We have close to 300 listings right now. We're the number one team in Canada. We're the number one team in Quebec,
In 4 years. Impressive.
Yeah.
How did you scale to 14 people in such a short amount of time and then actually find people that can deliver?
The challenge with hiring someone that's new in the business is they've never faced losses. They've never really faced failures in the business. And so it's almost like you're excited for them to have the first deal that they miss out on and their first failed deal and transaction, because you want to see their reaction.
All right, Samuel, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Pleasure.
Could you please introduce yourself real quick so that people know who you are and what we're talking about today?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Sam Benizri, and I'm a commercial real estate broker here in Montreal. I lease and sell buildings. We specialize in commercial assets and multifamily buildings across the Greater Montreal area.
Okay, so basically leasing, meaning if there's a business looking for a space, you could help them find a space, and you represent also landlord that want lease spaces, basically commercial spaces.
Yep, exactly.
And then you would sell industrial building, commercial buildings, stuff like that.
Yep, apartment buildings. Yep.
Okay, so let's say I put myself in one of your typical clients. I'm a franchise owner, let's say. What would be the process? I'm coming to see you. What do I need to bring to you? What's the process? I see you. What do you do? What's the process until I get a location, let's say?
Yeah. So first of all, you need to know, where you want to be located. I think that's the first step, because, every brand has their own strategic locations, right? They want to service a certain type of people. They want to see a certain amount of foot traffic. And especially if it's your first location in Montreal, you want to make sure that the first one is going to be a huge success.
Yeah.
Because then once it's a good success, once that happens and it's successful, then it trickles into more and more locations. And, so it's kind of starting with the location, picking kind of where you want to be located, and once we do that, we set up a budget. We look at more or less how much space you need, square footage.
Okay.
We look at zoning also. That's very important because some parts of Montreal you'll be able to operate a restaurant, and some parts of Montreal you're not going to be able to operate a restaurant. Some streets, for instance, it goes as far as this. Some streets on one block you'll be able to have a restaurant. On the next block you're not able to have a restaurant.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So for example, take NDG, right? You told me you're originally from NDG. I'm also originally from NDG. And in NDG, for instance, they're trying to limit the amount of restaurants that there is on certain streets. Take, for example, Moncklin Street, where there's a ton of restaurants. And so sometimes what's going to happen is, you're going to have one restaurant on one block, and they're not going to allow you to open a restaurant right next to it. They're going to want you to, perhaps open a restaurant on the next block or the block after.
Okay, so that they could control the density of restaurants and stuff but why would they do that? What's the plan behind it?
They're trying to have a mix. They're trying to have a balanced mix of tenants.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like urbanism, the city that decides that.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so you speak with the urbanist, like you said.
Yeah.
And you need to understand kind of the zoning and the laws and the regulations. And, sometimes the zoning changes very fast. We're now in the North Shore, right? We're having a conversation here. Your office is in Mascouche. So I'll give you an example in the North Shore. I'm selling a building in Saint-Jérôme, and, I would say 2-3 months before I put the building for sale, the city changed the zoning from industrial to commercial and residential. So now you're no longer able to have an industrial tenant in that building. And you're no longer able to sell the building to an industrial user unless it's an acquired right.
But isn't that already an industrial building? So you would have to convert the whole building?
That's the issue. So it's already an industrial building. So now you have to you have to price it as
demolition and then start
exactly.
Oh, no.
You're so all of this is basically what I'm trying to say here is you need a professional,
someone who's aware of all those intricacies and knows the people, because I get relationship bring you a lot of leverage as well, knowing how the process works and who you need to contact. You don't waste time reaching out to the wrong person and everything.
Yeah, right? And also it allows you to market the property in the right way, right? I mean, now that I know this and I've done my due diligence prior to putting a space for lease or for sale, now I know how to market it and I know who my client will be, right? So the first step when, so we're talking about the tenant looking for space.
Yeah.
The first step obviously is to find the right location, to figure out what your budget is, to figure out how much space you need, and to see, in that specific area where the zoning would allow you to be, right? And afterwards, we put together a list of spaces, locations, and then you select the top 2-3 choices that you want, and we go from there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So basically, if I'm a tenant wanting to lease a space, I should be able to figure out roughly where I would want my business, and then the square footage I would be looking for as well.
Yeah. Okay. 100%. The amount of space that you need.
Yeah. Okay. I understand. Actually, you mentioned something about marketing a property.
Yeah.
What does it take to because marketing is a general term. Like, how do you approach it? Because I know there's paid advertising. You post it on listings. Sometimes people don't post certain properties online. They reach out to other people because certain investors won't purchase. Like, how do you approach it?
So the first thing that's really important is to know who your target audience is. And to know that, I need to know who my buyer is. I need to know who my potential tenant is.
So it's like when you're in class, like the persona definition, I guess. Back in class, like back when I was in school, HSC or whatever, I had like a persona definition. And basically it's this figuring out who exactly you're selling to so you can tailor your messaging.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly it. So, like we mentioned earlier, knowing who your potential tenant would be for that space, your potential buyer for that building. And based on that, I'll know exactly how to run my marketing ads, right? My marketing campaign. It's important to target the right audience, If you make it too broad, like you say, marketing is such a broad term. Anything could be marketing, right? But I think what's important when you're marketing an asset, when you're marketing a building, a property, a space, it's important to really narrow it down to who's the right buyer, who's the right tenant for my space. And then based on that, the title of my ads are going to be different. The angles of my pictures are going to be different. The first picture on my ads will be affected by that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a very psychological process, right? You need to understand the psychology of these buyers and of these tenants, because based on that, you're going to have much more success. I much rather have 2 good visits in a week for my space or for my building than, having 15 people that are just curious to come and see the property.
Okay. So
you just need 1 buyer and 1 tenant.
Yeah, I agree. So basically, you want your advertising or your marketing to help people or potential tenants self-filter out and only keep the good ones that would be visiting.
Yeah, for sure.
Basically.
Yeah, you want to qualify.
You want to qualify the people. You don't want random people to come visit, waste your time, and then you come in and out for visits and visit for people who would never be interested in the place in the first place.
Exactly. I also don't want to waste people's time, right? So I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, even on my ads and on my marketing campaigns. But to do so, you really need to understand who's your audience, who's the right buyer, who's the right fit for this property you're trying to market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was wondering, because how long have you been doing that now?
So I've been doing real estate for a little over 4 years.
Okay.
So it's been, hasn't
4 years, and you've built that team already?
Yeah, 14 people on the team.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it would be like much longer since you have like 14. Like, how did you like scale to 14 people in such a short amount of time, and then actually find people that can deliver?
So
prior in 4 years, I see you all over the place too. So it's like, how do you do that in 4 years? It's impressive.
Yeah. So listen, I think I'm not scared to take risks. I'm not scared to give people chances also. That plays a big part of it. And prior to getting into real estate, I had a marketing company. I was very young.
So that's how your approach is. Because I've never heard a broker speak the way you're talking about marketing, but I was reading a lot of books about it, and they're speaking exactly the way, like Hormozy, for example.
Yeah.
I was reading a lot about him.
Yeah, he's amazing.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's
I
such a genius.
just finished $100 million leads, but
Oh my God,
bro, it was amazing. That's why when you said what you were saying, it resonated.
Yeah.
But I'd never heard brokers speak the way you're talking about it. Like,
Yeah.
right now I'm doing the same exercise in like figuring. That's why we have the podcast. That's why we have a YouTube channel. Is basically a lot of homozy in my head being like, oh, do this, do that, and then I get it. But I understand now more with the marketing background why you're approaching real estate that way.
Yes, exactly. I approach it in a very like you said, like with a marketing background. I'm also approaching it with kind of a residential approach, right? Because commercial real estate, the reason why I picked that side of real estate, it's because it's much more of an entrepreneurship way of dealing with real estate, right? Residential is very emotional. You're buying a home, you're buying a condo, you're assisting a family to find a house. If you don't find them a house within a certain period of time, they might find themselves with no homes for a few months. It's a different type of real estate in my mind. That's why I'm a big fan of whoever's doing residential, do residential, be great at it. But whoever's doing commercial, just stick to commercial. And that's what I decided to do. I'm just doing commercial. I'm just doing investment properties.
Like a numbers guy?
It's not just a numbers guy. I'm a people's person also. But and that's what I mean by I use a residential approach to build that team so fast, because in residential real estate, it's not a rare occurrence to see a team of 20 people, 15 people, 12 people.
Okay.
And why do they need so many people? It's because they run big marketing campaigns. They do leasing, they do sales, they do condos, they do homes. And they have people representing buyers, they have people representing sellers. So that requires a big team. And especially if you're a team that's renowned in a certain area, a certain pocket of Montreal, then, you're going to need more and more people, because then you're collecting a lot of listings.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the approach I had when I got into commercial. So 2 years in, I started building a team. It was actually by accident, because I had someone from my agency reach out to me and say, hey, I also want to get into commercial. I'm tired of being in residential. Can you teach me? Can I join your team?
Okay.
And in my mind, I was like, whoa, I never thought of building a team so fast after 2 years in the business.
Yeah.
So, kind of followed my guts. I said yes. And, that's how it started essentially. And 2 years later now, 14 people, we have our own space in Westmount on a nice beautiful retail space in Westmount, centrally located. We have close to 300 listings right now. We're the number one team in Canada. We're the number one team in Quebec.
In 4 years. Impressive.
Yeah.
But I guess the marketing background did help you, because you already knew how to run campaigns. You already had the basics of how to market. What was the marketing about? Like, what were you marketing?
So we were doing direct sales. So it was very different, but it was very sales focused. So it wasn't digital ads that we were doing when I had my marketing company. It was really face-to-face sales. So we had, for instance, one of the things that we did was we did roadshows with Costco's and Canadian Tires. Okay. So for, when you go into a Costco and you see someone doing a demonstration of a product, that's what we did. So we staffed those roadshows. Okay. And it was rotations of 2 weeks. So we would do 2 weeks at a Costco. But we had multiple campaigns run at the same time. Okay. And so I was basically overseeing all that in Montreal.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it's hardcore sales. I mean, listen, you're in a booth in a Costco all day long. And people are just shopping, and you have to convince them to buy your product, to taste your product, to test your product. It wasn't just food, right? We had also cleaning products. We had all sorts of stuff.
And you had to train people to do that.
You had to train people. So it was a lot of different things that I had to take care of. So first of all, I had to do recruiting, right? Because it's a tough environment.
Like your churn must be so high.
Yeah, it was a revolving door for sure. So you always had to hire people and find talent that was able to sell stuff that people don't necessarily need right away. And so that was the first part of it. And then training those people, and then, managing those people, and then managing the expectations of the clients that give us their products to promote. So it was a lot of things to take care of. Yeah.
Because I guess people think it's almost a magic solution, or like the client you're selling stuff for.
Yeah.
Like I guess it takes a little bit of time for you to get into it, learn the product, train your team before results show up.
100%. So we did such a good job that Costco would then refer us clients, and then we would start getting some really good referrals from Costco.
Okay.
Yeah. But my dream was always to get into real estate.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask now. What prompted the switch? You said 4 years ago. So did COVID like make you think about it, make you think to change, or is it,
so that was actually, so that was actually like 6 years ago, because what happened is 6 years ago, I was tired of it. You know, I was just like, listen, I'm working like 6 days a week.
Managing all those people, training all those people, and then churn over and over and over, redoing the same thing, the same training with other people. It must be
very hard to scale.
Yeah.
Okay? Very hard to scale, because then you're like, okay, well, you know, I'm already training so many people. I'm already hiring so much people. Like, how can I scale this? It was very, very tough, because it's almost like you're taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and it's very seasonal. So your best season gets eaten up by your worst season right after. It's like, it's kind of a vicious circle in that sense.
Like, it's hard.
Very tough business, but it really built me as an entrepreneur. And it builds resilience, you know. You're getting so many no's in the face, right? Like, so many people tell you, no, I'm not interested, that it just became like a game, right? You don't get affected by it anymore.
Yeah, I take it almost as challenging myself to turn the no into a yes, and then that's like I get excited about it. Like, anyways, but keep going. Sorry.
But that's I'm happy, right, that I went through this, because it was really the school of hard knocks, right? You learn, you know, really the ropes of entrepreneurship, right? And mind you, I started when I was a student. I was working in sales, and then, you know, started my own company. I was still young. So for me, that was really like the best training I've had.
You're 32. Like,
yeah,
still young.
Yeah,
we're young.
Yeah, but I started very, very young.
Yeah,
you know,
like,
I started when my first job was at 14 years old.
Okay, so that's young.
Yeah, so yeah. So I've been working.
It shows, I guess.
No,
it does show, yeah.
But at the time, you don't realize, right? At the time, you're like, oh God, when is this gonna end? When is this gonna get better? But years later, you realize, oh wow, this, you know, everything happens for a reason. Those were all, you know, stepping stones for me to get where I am today. And so, you know, 6 years ago, I decided to make the switch into real estate, but I didn't become a broker right away. I decided to join a big multinational called IWG. Okay. And they're basically the company behind some of the most successful co-working spaces in the world. Okay. So they own brands like Regus, Spaces, HQ.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have a few of those brands that they own, that they run worldwide. They're in every single country, essentially. They're based out of Europe. And I worked for 2 years as an area sales manager, right? So I was running like basically all of the co-working spaces in Montreal. Like, I was doing all sales for all co-working spaces in Montreal. So we had spaces in downtown, Old Port, West Island, Laval. And that allowed me to meet some pretty cool companies, some institutional companies. You know, we did deals with Apple, we did deals with Amazon Web Services, some really cool tech companies. But in the back of my mind, I always told myself, well, this is just like kind of a learning experience, you know, and it was a confirmation that I wanted to get into commercial real estate.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I was hesitant. I was like, well, do I do residential like 99% of the people? Or do I get into this commercial world that is still an unknown for me? Okay. So it's like, what a better way to learn than to be part of this company leasing office spaces to these big companies and to these local companies as well, because we did have small co-working spaces too that we would lease.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's almost like, it's not brokerage, but you still talk to companies. You have to like sublease your space from the co-working space, pretty much.
Yes, exactly. The whole business model of a co-working company is they'll lease a very large space in a building, and then they'll renovate the whole building, and they'll sublease those small co-working spaces to other companies.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. It's almost like the land developers kind of thing. When they buy the land, they split it out and they sell in parcels.
Exactly. Except that in this case, they'll lease it out.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like a WeWork model.
Okay.
Same thing.
Okay, that
So
makes
you
sense.
lease it out to different companies. You even sell business addresses. So for example, let's
Oh,
say
yeah, that's true.
yeah,
Okay,
let's say there's a web developer that works out of his basement.
yeah.
But he's like, well, when people Google my address, I don't want them to see my basement. I want them to see a beautiful office building downtown Montreal.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So that's what we called virtual offices. So we would sell business addresses to companies.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's smart. That's
Yeah,
smart.
very
That's
smart.
true. Yeah, that's very smart actually.
Yeah.
I was thinking that because commercial, to me personally, the way I was first interested in commercial real estate was through Manny Kashbin. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, of
Like-
course. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
was it any inspiration of yours, or did you hear about it? Like, what? Because I heard about him at like 2019, 2020 around COVID,
Yeah.
and I actually wanted to have my license as a broker, but I wasn't able because I wasn't a permanent resident yet, so I couldn't get it. Like, I'm from France. I was studying
Oh, I didn't
here.
know that. Nice.
Yeah, I came from France, studied here for mechanical engineering,
Nice.
but I didn't have my permanent residency, so I couldn't get my broker's license. So I decided, okay, because I wanted to do real estate initially, then figured out if I can do brokerage, if I don't have money to buy, renovate anything, I'll just learn how to build. And so I could partner up with people with the money to buy, renovate, and then I'll just handle the construction. Then we could split up the thing. But personally, I got first interested in commercial real estate through him. So I was wondering, like, if that was an inspiration of yours, or if the idea came from somewhere else. Because you said you always wanted to be in real estate, but I was wondering, where did that come from?
So, I mean, inspirations of mine in the commercial real estate world only came after I got into the business, because I didn't know a whole lot of people in the business when I got into it. And that was the scary part, to be honest with you, because I almost got into an unknown. I didn't know if I was going to be successful. Honestly, I was really scared to get into that business. In residential, it's easier to say, well, yeah, I watch, million dollar listings, all these shows that are so commercialized, that are so popular, and that make you dream about selling these beautiful penthouses and beautiful homes. But in commercial real estate, it was an unknown for me. But I definitely got inspired by entrepreneurs in general, right? I think that's what pushed me into getting into that type of real estate, into that business. It was more the entrepreneurship side of things. And then I always knew I'll figure it out, And then as I got into the business, then, I looked up to, various,
Oh, yeah, because you learned through as you went, like I guess you were searching for information and you saw different faces and learned from them.
Exactly. And mind you, in the beginning, you don't really know who's good and who's not good.
Yeah.
Everyone appears like they're super successful.
Right.
But, and then you realize you're like, okay, those are the successful ones.
Yeah.
Those are the people I should actually listen to. And that's who I want to become like, right?
Yeah, like emulate, learn from, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, basically.
Exactly. And that's what led me to traveling to the US and going to visit some of these agents and learning from them. Yeah.
Okay, so you did even go to them, speak to them.
Of course.
Learn the ropes, understand how they market properties, how they go into commercial real estate, how they,
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I'm all about, like you said, learning from the best, learning from them to fast track.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
Your learning curve, essentially, your learning experience.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. That's your approach. That's why I like books as well, because I don't understand why we wouldn't read a book when someone took the time to put their experiences into that book, like their life experiences. They like broke it down, put it in the book. I'm like, there's so much information there that I might as well read it. Like I might as well pay attention to it. Might as well like, okay, look at how they've done it. Even when I talk to Claude, I'm like, because when I used AI before, I used to get lost into like the detail nitty gritty, but now I'm asking it, before we try and create something, what if you were to search for how other people have done it, like, and adapt it to us, what would you search for and why? And it like streamlined my process a lot, because I don't. Anyways, nice. I just got lost into the details. But
AI is great. AI is great. I'm still figuring out ways to integrate it properly into our business. Real estate, it's such a people's business, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I do find that a lot of people are getting too lost into the technology side of things, and they're forgetting the old school way of dealing, which people still appreciate nowadays.
Agree.
But at the same time, finding the right balance between, you know, utilizing AI, still remaining authentic with the way the business is run right now, and why people are having success, you know, for the past 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
So I think this is where it's going to become challenging for a lot of professionals in my industry is, you know, do I jump headfirst into this whole AI thing? Do I just stay the way I am and eventually I'll have to, you know, incorporate AI into my business? I think this is where a lot of people are going to have difficulties in the next few years.
I think it's like a double-edged sword too at the same time, the AI, especially in the public, like people businesses, because I get almost offended when I know someone sent me an AI email, or when I know someone like the responder, if it's not like straightforward, like, by the way, it's an AI, I get triggered when they try to make me think it's a real person that I'm talking to, and then but you know, like the way it speaks, it's definitely not anyways. But I think I agree with you. I join you. Like, it could be a double-edged sword of how you implement it, or maybe data analysis, or like that's the only way I see it. In those kinds of businesses.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. I think that was my first thought is, okay, like, you know, if it could fast track, you know, how I collect data to provide it to my clients, then, oh, that's amazing, because, you know, I'm saving time in front of my computer so I could spend more time in front of my clients and in front of potential clients. But by the way, just to go back to what you mentioned previously also with the calls, I am not a fan of
I hate it so
the
much.
AIs responding to calls.
I hate it so much.
I hang up right away.
Me too.
I can't. So much. You know, there's so many different things that you have to, you know, discuss in a conversation, especially when you're about to hire someone or a professional, that it's just, how is the AI going to help me in that sense? I don't know. Maybe I'm not educated enough in AI right now to say this, but
I hate it so much.
Yeah, I feel like people are not ready yet for that.
I don't think, but I don't even think it's just people. It just feels impersonal, and it feels, in my head, it feels lazy. It feels like and it's not. I think it's also it triggers me more when it's not straightforward, in the sense of they try to make you think it's a human when it's a AI behind it. If people come right out and say it, I'm less offended. That if I'm on the phone and then I know it's an AI, but you're pretending like I'm talking to a real human.
Right.
I think that's the main issue to me. It's just the perceived trying to fool me. Like, as if I'm not gonna notice that I'm talking to an AI.
Right. I agree. You know, when it comes to customer service, I could see how it could be useful just in the beginning of the conversation, and then they you know, kind of, you know, set you up with an agent that actually speaks to you. But, you know, if you're prospecting, if you're having a first conversation with a client, if you're responding to a client that's reaching out to you for more information on your services or whatever, I think that first conversation should definitely be human to human, right? 100%. But anyways, that's going to be interesting to see how it evolves in the next, 24 months, because it's evolving so fast.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you were very talking about entrepreneurship. You were interested in entrepreneurship in general, and I was wondering how with the experience you now have of entrepreneurship, how your vision changed from, let's say, you have some young kid that aspires to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. How has your vision of entrepreneurship evolved over time? Like, how did you see it when you were younger to now that you have the experience, you've lived through it, you've lost some of that naivety? Like, how does it change to you? Like,
yeah, I mean, listen, you know, there's so many things I could answer this with, but I think the first thing I could think about is, you know, I don't think as a young me, for example, or any young you know, entrepreneurs out there, future entrepreneurs out there, you don't realize how hard it is, and how many shots you have to take, especially for your team, right? You're basically the forefront of your business, and so you're taking all the risks. You're the last guy to be paid. you're the first one to be blamed. And so, you have to be willing to make a lot of sacrifices, and it's a lot more than what people think. And but ultimately it's worth it. I wouldn't be able to work for someone else ever again.
I agree with you.
And it's been a long time I haven't worked for anybody else, and that was a decision that I made. But in order to ultimately not have to work for anybody else, there's a whole lot of sacrifices to make, and that's why it's maybe not made for everyone. And
Well, especially when starting that young, the way you started, because the way I would see it personally, let's say if I would start again, maybe you start working for someone, learn the ropes, get some network,
yeah,
and then build a relationship. And then maybe when you're in your 30s, then you start your entrepreneurship journey, but you already have a big network that it's easier to just even start off with the base clientele.
Yeah.
You already have that network.
Yeah.
That's how I would see it if I was like less risk. If I were more risk averse, I would maybe approach it that way, like build a relationship, go into an industry. I think that's where I would want to be an entrepreneur and build a relationship there, build a network, and then grow from there.
Yep.
Like start on my
Absolutely.
own.
I think it also depends on which business you're in, right? Which industry you're in. But I decided to make sacrifices when I had nothing to lose. And I think if you do it that way, you tend to become successful, and you take the time to really learn the business properly, and because you have nothing to lose, you're not scared of taking risks and growing fast.
Yeah.
So when I started becoming an entrepreneur, I still lived at my mom's house. I didn't have that much bills to pay. I didn't have a car. Yeah, I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. And so when you have nothing to lose, it's always more enjoyable. You enjoy the journey. I find a little more. And yes, it's tough. Yes, you're still gonna cry alone in your car some nights. It's gonna happen. But hey, at least you might not have to put food on the table the next day for your kids and your wife.
Yeah.
But it's never too late to become an entrepreneur. And once again, that way of growing that you mentioned earlier in working for someone else, building some experience or building yourself a reputation and then starting your own business. That's also a great way of doing it. I think it also depends on which business you're in, and how much sacrifices you're willing to take to make.
Yeah. Especially because you won't have necessarily time to see some friends that you used to see, not the same priorities. You don't now you have to think about other things. You want to think about business all the time. The weekend you think about it. The night you think about it.
Yeah.
Your wife is like, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking about to get that client or that client.
Exactly.
But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I had another question that I forgot. I think it was a great because we were talking about building team, because we were talking about marketing.
Yeah.
But how do you even market for finding your own teams? Like, what do you look when you're building a team? What do you look for?
So when I'm building my team, what do I look for? So first of all, I always look for individuals that are going to put the client before them, right? They're always going to look out for the best interest of the client.
Customer service.
Yeah, customer service is number one in our team. Number two is have some experience also. In the beginning, I was obviously less I guess less strict on that side of things, where I would give chances to people that were in the business for less than 6 months. But now that we have a pretty stable, good team, solid team, good reputation in the business, I'm really looking for someone with experience at this stage, and someone that has lost deals, that has made deals, and they understand the process, right? The challenge with hiring someone that's new in the business is they've never faced losses. They've never really faced failures in the business. And so it's almost like you're excited for them to have the first deal that they miss out on and their first failed deal and transaction, because you want to see their reaction. How are they going to react to that, right? Are they going to just look at it as it's fine, it just gets me closer to my next deal, it's part of the game? Or is that the end of the world, crushes them, their attitude goes down, and then you just lost that individual for the next 2-3 weeks?
And then it affects the entire
Yeah,
team too.
it does.
Like,
It does. Yeah, you just need one bad apple, and then it affects the whole,
yeah,
the whole team. But that's mainly what I'm looking for now. Someone with experience, someone that has amazing customer service, and just a great individual, someone that I could have real conversations with, someone that I could go out to dinner with, have a drink with. If our if our personalities are not compatible,
yeah,
then
then you're gonna hit
it's just
into
not
friction all the time, run into friction all the time.
yeah, but it's also not going to be enjoyable,
Yeah.
right? We have a lot of fun doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Every day I come into the office, every day I come into work, I'm excited. I'm excited to see some team members. I'm excited to have conversations with them. I'm excited to help them grow. And I think that's very important, having someone that, is agreeable, someone that, you could actually build a long-term partnership with, relationship with.
Well, talking about long term, what is your vision now for the what you're building, like in the 5-10 years coming up?
Yeah, so I think there's two things that we're focusing on the long term. The first thing is we're building our divisions within the team. So now we have a retail division, we have a multi-residential and investment division, we have an industrial division. And so we're really, really trying to focus on developing those divisions, so that, they have a good market share. And the second thing is I would love to, you know, have teams that are outside of Montreal as well. Branch out of Montreal. That would be the second long
Like
term goal.
Montreal or Quebec even?
Quebec.
Quebec.
Yeah. Get outside of Montreal, meaning like,
Like Ontario, other provinces
exactly.
as
Yeah,
well.
there are other provinces. I mean, we live in a great province. We have a very, very big province, and there's a lot of untapped markets, and underserved markets, and so we're excited to service those markets with our experience with some of the people on our team, and
Mm.
yeah, I mean that's definitely one of my goals. And going to Ontario, I mean that would be great. Ontario is great. Going to Western Canada would be great.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a long-term goal.
So that would mean your team would have to grow significantly as well.
Well, it's
Or
not
no?
about necessarily the number of team members that you have. I think it comes with experience, right? Experience running a team, and building solid individuals that have so much experience in their own division
Yeah.
that they could also run their own division. All right, and they could
So you can
teach.
delegate.
You could delegate. They could teach other people, about the business. They could train other people about, on the business.
But I feel like it's almost every subdivision that you're creating into your business, it's almost its own tiny business as well within the corporate, like within your banner, like the Sam Benizri banner.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the goal, but it doesn't come overnight, and I understand that. So, we're taking our time into building, a strong foundation so that we could build off of that. Once I feel like, I have some individuals that are ready to take on the challenge in growing a
Mm.
certain division, then the goal is to bring that division elsewhere, right? Not just
Yeah.
limit ourselves to the greater Montreal area, let's say, to
Okay.
bring it somewhere else.
Okay, so
Yep.
basically you'd have people who have their responsibility. And how do you approach, like, do you have like some kind of marketing on Instagram, YouTube, stuff like that, or no?
Yep.
Because the reason I'm asking that is, in my head, when you have this kind of visibility on YouTube, Instagram, social media, then it also helps when you want to expand
Yep.
into broader networks or broader industries or areas. Sorry, you go to Ontario or BC or stuff like that. Then if you already have a big following on those social media, then you could just post like 2 years out, then you're thinking about opening here, and then you could have people reach out to you, so it's easier to build a team.
Yeah.
I find.
No, absolutely. So it's very very smart what you just said, because that's exactly what we're trying to do now. We just hired a marketing agency a few months ago, and we're working on building our YouTube channel, our various channels that we use on social media. I mean, we have a pretty good online presence now, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, but we could always get better at it.
Mhm.
There's a lot of room for improvement, and so we hired professionals to take care of it now, and they follow us every month, and
Okay.
we're building a lot of content now that we're going to eventually come out with in the next month or two,
Okay.
because there's a lot of editing to do and whatnot, and we want to
Yeah.
do it well, and in an organized way.
I mean, you already have your standard of quality that you're serving your client with. So you want the same thing for your social. You want the same thing for your
Exactly.
like you want a minimum standard.
Exactly, 100%. So that's exactly it. We want to deliver a good quality product to the audience that we have, and we want to grow our audience. And that's exactly it. Like once we grow that audience, I already have young brokers and even experienced brokers reaching out to me and wanting to join the team. But we're being very selective now, and
You can now, especially now, you can afford to
yeah.
with the visibility that you have nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not necessarily about having the biggest team in terms of numbers. It's really about having the best quality to service your clients. And
Mhm.
so, we're being picky in that sense. We want people that are experienced also to a certain degree. But I'm always open to giving someone a chance, of course, if they stand out and if I see that they're a strong
The
individual.
work ethic,
Oh yeah,
customer service.
yeah, exactly. That we were definitely willing to give a chance. And then for new markets, we're gonna look for experienced individuals to join us. And I believe that with our social media presence and by growing that side of things, we'll be able to tap those markets, those new markets to
Okay,
to
because
develop our business.
I was asking you the question because that's the same way I was visualizing it. Let's say here we work in the Greater Montreal here as
Yeah,
builders as well, and we I want to master this market before going outside. But I was thinking if I already mastered the market with my YouTube strategy, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. That's the reason we started the studio. That's the reason we started YouTube, and then
nice.
I want to expand. And it's much easier now that I have the reach. I just post online. By the way, in 2 years, in a year, we're moving there. It's like you can already find clients because you already have a pipeline
Yeah,
because they already find you on YouTube, on whatever platform they find you. And you could even almost like have some kind of market analysis beforehand, because if you're online and you say, I'm going to be there in 2 years, people are already going to reach out to you being
yeah,
like, oh, I'm going to need a team. I'm going to need help with X, Y, and Z. You already have professionals. It will be easier for recruiting as well.
a hundred
So
percent.
that's what I was thinking. It's
Yeah,
almost like the Hormozy says, if you have an unlimited amount of leads, then you have an unlimited amount of chances, and unlimited amount of it's just simpler. It
yeah,
makes the business much easier.
yeah, a
You could
hundred percent.
you could choose, you could set your prices better. You don't have to compete on price. You don't have to compete on like your service defines itself
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, and people will even be willing to pay a little more
Yeah,
because they want to have the certainty of having a good service and a good product, a good, yeah. So I think, in that sense, you're totally right. Once you have a strong following, people will reach out to you to ask if you service a certain market.
exactly.
And that's when okay, it's maybe time for me to develop that market.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I think it also makes it easier for you as a business owner in terms of when people reach out to you, it's a different relationship. It's
Yeah.
not like you trying to sell them.
Yeah.
It's them wanting to work with you because they've seen you online, they've seen how you work, they trust you.
Yep.
So it's a different relationship and it's easier. The reason I like this as well is it makes it much easier to be fully transparent because they've seen you online, they've seen how you work, they trust you. They're already, you have your framework of working because the what I find now with the more experience I'm having is that you have to have like some kind of standards, some kind of checklist that clients have to work through so you could have the results that you're looking for. Because it's almost as if we don't go through that pathway, then I can't guarantee this outcome because X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
That's the way I was thinking about it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, word of mouth is the best marketing. And
Is that why you're insistent on customer service then?
100%. 100%. And Tony Robbins recently said something that really caught
Right.
my attention. He said, we used to be in the business of information, right? Where whoever had the most data and information would be the one with the most clients and customers in general, right? If you were the guy with all the data and the right information,
Yeah.
and how I can get this and how I can go through this, and how can you help me through this situation and whatnot. But now we're in the world of information, right? You spoke about Claude earlier, the chat GPTs of this world, AI and whatnot. You can get any answers to the at the tip of your finger, right?
So good.
It's incredible, and you get the accurate information. But the difference now is, we're really, we switch from the being in the in the world of who has the most information to who can actually deliver results.
Yeah.
And individuals who can still deliver results are the ones that are acquiring customers every week. They're the ones with the biggest market share in whatever business you're in. And I agree with that, because if you can deliver results, your clients are going to be your best marketing.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
They're going to tell their neighbor, they're going to tell their friends, their business partners, their family members, hey, I worked with Swan and he's the guy, right?
Yeah.
I had an issue after, he did the work or whatever, called him, showed up the next day.
Yeah.
It was super smooth. He understood my needs. He listened and he delivered. So, I think nowadays that's really what's going to define who's getting, who's good at customer acquisitions and who's getting new business all the time versus someone who's just being stagnant.
Yeah. One thing you just said as well is how people handle problems. That's also how I find, like, let's say I think people will make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But to me, it's more how you respond to how you've made the mistake. Like the response to the mistake. For example, you said, oh, Swan, they did this mistake happened, and then they showed up the next day. It's just, to me, it's like how you respond to the mistake. What are your solutions? Are you proactive with it? Like that's pretty much how I almost see customer service as well. It's not like, you obviously want to not make mistake. That's why we want the experience, because people who have made lots of mistakes tend to make fewer mistakes. Because in my head, that's how you learn. The more mistakes you make, like in my head, nobody knows what to do. We just know enough of what not to do to guide us towards what the right answer is in my head. That's how I see experience, and that's why I agree with the valuing it so much. And I have the same vision, but I think we're running 52 minutes. We're filmed now.
Nice.
So I think we're running to the end. Just to conclude a little bit, could you re-explain who you are, what types of client we work with, or even if you're still looking for team members, and how can people find you as well?
Yeah. So, I work with all sorts of clients. We specialize in the mid-market. So, we don't necessarily just try to chase big institutional clients. We work with a lot of private investors, private money, family offices. Whether you have a building for sale, commercial space to rent, we're here for you. We mostly represent landlords and sellers, but we will help, prospective tenants find a space now. We've just developed our tenant representation division about 3 months ago, and we have 3 great team members on it. So we're now ready to service tenants that want to branch out, that want to develop their business franchises and whatnot. And to find us, essentially, we're located in Westmount. So if you're in the area, please come by. Our office is open, from Monday to Friday.
Can you mention the address as well? I can put it down in the description as well.
So we're located at 4447 St. Catherine West in Westmount. Easy to park, and we have great coffee. And on Instagram, Benizri Buildings. And if you want to find our website, samuelbenizri.com or wegetitdone.ca.
Okay.
And
I like that domain.
Thank you. We also have it written in our office.
Okay.
In terms of new
must
team
have been expensive domain. We get it done.
No, it wasn't so bad. No, it wasn't so bad. Yeah. Well, the wegetitdone.com was taken. So
that's
what wegetitdone.ca. But it's a good one. I'm happy about it. I'm happy that we got it, and I was surprised it wasn't taken.
Okay.
In terms of new team members, look, we're always open to meet new talent. Whatever idea you have, whatever dreams and goals you have, very open to having a discussion, and I like to be transparent in life. So we'll be very, very honest with each other, and we could discuss your goals and how you envision being in the commercial real estate world. But for sure, we're I think we're mainly focused now on getting new team members that have experience, in commercial real estate, that have experience in having great days and bad days, great deals and horrible deals. And I think the mindset is important in that sense. So that's about us essentially. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, man.